Before I start, I pay my tribute to late Venerable Kesri Dhammananda Nayaka Mahathir, who introduced Buddhism to this country and to many parts of the world, particularly the tradition of Dhamma talks. And I pay my tribute and honor him and seek blessings from him. Dear friends in the Dhamma, I'm glad to be here again. I remember a year or two ago, I came here on a Sunday and gave the talk, and also I had my lunch dana here. So this time I'm glad to be here again. So today let us spend some time on discussing the teachings of the Buddha on how to balance our material pursuits and spiritual pursuits. So in our life, particularly as lay Buddhists, we need to earn a living, and we have our own family obligations. You have to pay your bills, and you have to pay your transports and everything. So you have material pursuits to achieve, and of course you need to build a career and study. You have to raise your kids and family. So most of our time in our life is dedicated for those pursuits, what we can call worldly pursuits or material pursuits. But as Buddhists, we also know that spending our whole life for material pursuits is not wise, because things do not last long, and there's a meaning. There should be a meaning to this life beyond this worldly material pursuits. Therefore, we also have realized with our own experience that there's a spiritual part to this life also. But now then the problem comes how to balance these two aspects of the life, and how we can pursue our spiritual goals within this busy family business life. Sometimes we feel that these two pursuits are against each other. But there's a very close relationship actually. Maybe we can take an example about taking care of our body and taking care of our mind. Two different things, right? Taking care of our body and taking care of our mind. But if you pay close attention, actually these two are very related. And if we really take a good care of our body, taking care of body and making sure that what you put inside this body is healthy stuff, and you are grateful to your body because this body allows us to live this precious human life. And if any organs in this body is not working well, and we will not be able to work, and we will not be able to come here and sit like this. So we should be grateful, and we should take a good care of this body. But does it prevent us from taking care of our mind? And if we really take a good care of your body, and that also helps us to take care of our mind. If you take a very bad care of your body, like only focusing on excitement or maybe sensual pleasures, and using all kind of substances and other things to satisfy your worldly pleasures, and of course we are not really taking care of our body either. You may have a lot of enjoyment, a lot of drinking, or eating all kind of things, but that is not being kind to our body. But when in true sense, if you take care of your bodily needs, if you take care of your body, and that also help us to take care of our mind too. Right? And only when we have a healthy body, then actually we can pay attention to our mind. And that is what the Bodhisattva did. The Buddha before becoming the Buddha did. Right? That is his breakthrough. That taking care of the body is also the way to develop our mind. And he was practicing all kind of austerities, all kind of torturing practices, like fasting to the extreme level, even like eating 1 grain a day, and also try to stop his breathing, and he's staying under hot sun, and giving all kind of tortures to his body. And it's very clearly explained in the sutta, in the Middle Length Discourses. If you read Mahasacchaka Sutta, the discourse given to given to a person called Sacchaka, Buddha explained in great detail, what kind of things he did, as an ascetic, as a way of disciplining his body, but mainly actually torturing it, because Buddha was really experimenting whether he can create altered states of consciousness by going beyond the ordinary limits of the body. Then he said that he tried to stop his breath, and then his mouth started to breathe, so he closed his mouth and the nose also. Then he feel like the air is trying to enter through his ears, and it was so painful. Finally, he got a really severe headache, and then he gave it up. And so, but the breakthrough the Bodhisattva, the ascetic Siddhartha did was realizing that the taking care of body is very important in our effort to develop our mind. So he gave up the austerities and what we call self-mortification, and then he started to take care of his body. And then he used the body as a tool, as a vehicle to gradually grow his mind. And that is what we call the middle path. So taking care of body is not against taking care of mind. It actually can work hand in hand. And of course, when you take care of our mind well, not giving so much stress to this mind, not letting mind to think over and over again what happened in the past, and such good practices can also help our body. So the taking care of body helps us to take care of our mind, and taking a good care of our mind also enhance our good health. So it can work hand in hand. So what I want to tell you today, in the same manner, taking care of our material pursuits in a true sense can help us actually to achieve spiritual pursuits. And these both goals can help to achieve each aspect of our life. But then we need to understand what truly are the material pursuits. And there's an interesting sutta in the Anguttara Nikaya, in the numerical discourses, where actually Buddha directly addressed this issue of balancing the material pursuits and the spiritual pursuits. And this sutta is called the Sutta on the Blind, the Andha Sutta. And in that sutta, he talks about 3 types of people: a blind person, and a one-eyed person, and two-eyed person. So what do you think, what category do you belong to? Yeah, easily you will say that, I'm a two-eyed person, right? I can see, of course we have 2 eyes. Some people have 4 with the specs. Extra. But actually in this sutta, what Buddha meant by the blind, the one-eyed and two-eyed is completely different. He explained the blind person. He said that there are people in this world who are not knowledgeable to accrue enough wealth to satisfy their basic needs. There are people who are not clever in accruing wealth. At the same time, they are also not clever in distinguishing what is wholesome and what is not wholesome, what is kusala and what is akusala, and what is beneficial and what is not beneficial, and what is blameworthy and what is not blameworthy. So people who are lack of these two skills, two clarities, are called the blind. They are not good in, actually Buddha said that they are not good in generating new wealth, and they are also not good in enhancing the existing wealth. Even you inherit wealth from your parents or family, and you are not good in enhancing that. So he lacks that knowledge, that skill, not being able to generate new wealth and not being able to enhance existing wealth. And so his one eye is blind. And then next, he is not good in distinguishing what is wholesome and unwholesome, which means he doesn't have a moral sense, which means generally spiritual aspect to his life. And Buddha considered him a blind person, living in this world with all troubles. In a different instance, Buddha talks about a blind elephant. Imagine there's a blind elephant in a jungle. What's going to happen to that poor elephant? Wherever he moves, he's going to be stuck with the tree or a rock or something. No matter where he moves, he'll be hit by all kind of things. See, he's always in pain, always in trouble, always getting hit by so many things. So when we are blind, we are also the same. We'll be hit by so many things, no matter what move we do, and we will experience suffering. We don't have enough skills to deal with this material wealth as well as understanding what is wholesome and unwholesome. Then Buddha talks about one-eyed person. And he said that there are people in this world who are very skillful, very good in generating new wealth and also enhancing the existing wealth. They know how to do it. And I think people in Malaysia, particularly Chinese, are very good in that, right? Generating new wealth, and also enhancing the existing wealth. And there are many people who are very good in that. And so there are people who are good in accruing material wealth, but they don't have knowledge or skills to distinguish what is truly wholesome and unwholesome, what is really beneficial in long term and what is not beneficial, what is blameworthy and what is not blameworthy, which means they don't have a knowledge of moral behavior. And that lack of knowledge also influences the way that they earn money, they earn wealth, because they don't incorporate that moral knowledge in their pursuit of material wealth, so they may end up doing all immoral things in their very effort to earn money, and therefore they will cheat other people, they will use all kind of frauds, and they will exploit others. And Buddha said that as a result of that, they may have some kind of nice life right here, but they will probably end up having a very unfortunate life after death. And those are called one-eyed person, or one-eyed people. The third category is called the two-eyed person. And there Buddha explains there are people who have skills and knowledge how to generate new wealth and how to enhance existing wealth. At the same time, they are also gifted with the knowledge and skills to distinguish what is wholesome and unwholesome, what is blameworthy and unblameworthy. And Buddha did not necessarily talk about Buddhism right there, Actually, generally talk about human beings. So general moral sense and some care for spirituality, some care for moral behavior, and that is the other eye. So people who have these two skills, two knowledges are called the two-eyed people. And Buddha said that in our life, if you want to have a friend, make sure that you have a friend with two eyes. Of course, not the physical eyes, but there's two senses, the moral sense and then also the sense for material wealth. And do not be with the people who are one-eyed and also the blind. Or maybe encourage ourselves, if you have one eye, develop the second eye too. If you are completely blind, and maybe we can help people to gradually have these both eyes. So in that sutta, actually, Buddha has given very clear guidelines how to improve this both aspects of our life. So in that case, for the Buddha, the two-eyed person is a person who is skillful in two aspects, not only spiritual persons. And in fact, actually, the Buddha praised so many successful entrepreneurs during the time of the Buddha. And one famous one, I think you heard about him. He's the one who actually donated the Jetavana monastery. In Pali, his name is Anatha Pindika. He's a millionaire, he's a businessman called Anatha Pindika. It's actually his nickname. Anatha Pindika means the feeder of the homeless, the feeder of the helpless, feeder of the poor. Anatha means helpless. Pindika means feeder. So Anatha Pindika, the feeder of the homeless, feeder of the helpless people. And that was the name given to him by the society. But actually his personal name was Sudatta. But he is well known as Anatha Pindika, and that is the name even recorded in the suttas. And the Jetavana is called the Arama, the temple, the monastery built by the Anatha Pindika. And there are interesting conversations between the Buddha and this Anatha Pindika in many of the discourses given by the Buddha. And those are very interesting discourses guiding people how to balance these two aspects of the life. And one day, Anatha Pindika came to visit the Buddha. And Buddha explained to him the benefits of having wealth. Benefits of having wealth. And one benefit of having wealth, Buddha says that if you are good in accruing a good amount of wealth, and Buddha said that then you will be able to help your family. Your children, your wife, your husband, and your mother and father, the immediate family. You will be able to relieve the sufferings of your immediate family. And that is one important benefit of having wealth, isn't it? And if you are poor, your family will suffer too. And they will not have enough, thing to eat and enough education. So if you are good in earning enough wealth, then you will be able to benefit those people. The second benefit is to being able to help your friends and relatives who are in need. And you can expand that helping, that service beyond your family to help friends and relatives. And the third benefit, Buddha says that you will be able to perform your duties towards the country and towards ancestors. He actually says that you will be able to pay taxes to the country. Yes, called Raja Bali. Your duties towards the state, the king. Because if you do not pay taxes, how the economy runs in the country. So that's because we are benefiting from the country's economy, so we have a duty, according to Buddha, to help that economy to run, to that country to run. For that we have to pay our share, which are called taxes that many people don't like to pay. But when you pay taxes, you develop kind of confidence. You feel like I'm a part of this whole system. I have contributed to this country. Whether their taxes are being used wisely or not is a different matter. But our duty is to pay our part. So that is the third benefit of having wealth, being able to pay back to the society, pay back to the country. You are so blessed to be in a country, at least, economy is to a certain level is stable, and there are many countries the economy is not that stable. So if we are benefiting from that security, and so therefore we have a duty to pay back in that sense. And also there's to ancestors, like we can, make offerings or do whatever, memorial services for them. The last benefit, the fourth one, is called being able to help, according to the suttas, to religious people, religious practitioners. Which means, in today's terms, you'll be able to help Buddhist centers. And you'll be able to help, the monks and religious, institutions that help so many other people. So if you don't have wealth, we cannot survive as monks, and Buddhist centers cannot survive, right? So it's a great benefit of having a wealth. But of course, if it is used for good purposes, people can have wealth but not use it, right? So those are the 5 benefits that Buddha talked about. Taught to Anathapindika, one of his close lay disciples. And so then you think about, is it good to have good amount of wealth? Isn't it disturbing our spiritual growth? You may have those questions in your mind, right? Actually, in Buddhist teachings, the criteria for earning wealth is not related to the amount that you should earn. There's no limit of the amount of wealth that you should earn in Buddhism. But the limits are, or the guidelines are, on how to earn wealth. There are a number of guidelines how you should earn. Particularly, we should earn righteously. Dhammikena, righteously, using proper ways. In what you mean by righteous ways means in a ways that not harming any living being. If your means of earning is harming other living beings, then it is not righteous. The second criteria to be righteous is that we should earn our money with our own labor. Buddha said that with your own sweat. Whether physical or mental, we have to really engage in that earning process, not like easy way of earning. And as long as our way that we earn money is based on our own sweat, own labor, and it is righteous, there's no limit to the wealth that you can accumulate or you should accumulate. The Buddha has given those criteria. You should be within these limits. It should be righteous, not harming any living beings. It should be with your own effort, your own labor, physical or mental, own sweat. And as long as you can remain within that limit, go ahead. But make sure that you actually use that money, you use that wealth. Means you use that wealth to benefit your family, benefit your relatives, your friends, and benefit the country and society, and doing welfare, and benefit the religion. And then you use it, otherwise you keep it, and you don't really use it. Because no matter how much we have, we only can eat few meals a day. You only can sleep on one single bed, right? So no matter how much wealth you have. So it's always good to use in a way that, to benefit many others. And the one very interesting example given by the Buddha for us to remember how we should earn money is the bee. Buddha said, Bambaraseva iriyate. In earning wealth, you should be like a bee. Bambara is a Pali term for bee, B-E-E. What are the characteristics of a bee? Have you seen bee? Yeah, definitely. What are the characteristics of a bee? Very good, industrious, hardworking. So we usually call BCS bee, right? Yeah. And that's one important characteristic of a bee, hardworking, industrious. That's one other important characteristic. Can you guess? Huh? Yeah, they make honey. How they make honey? One is industrious, and then there's another important element to their effort. Very good. That's the second characteristic. They are industrious, they are hardworking, but when they collect nectar, they will not harm flowers. They will even not harm petals or even any part of the flower. That is the best example that we can have. The Buddha has given to us. Be industrious, hardworking like a bee, but at the same time, do your earning by not harming the people, the beings, and the environment like the bee. And the bee collects honey without harming anything in the flower. So being industrious doesn't mean that you should go and be violent and be brutal in your earning. Actually, Buddha used the words asahasena. Without being brutal, without being violent, we should earn. And so we had to say, be a bee entrepreneur. Yeah, so the very best example Buddha has given to us. So that is the limit. So there's no limit in Buddhism how much you should earn, but the guidelines and limitation are on how you should earn. Then we come to the other aspect. When you earn money in that way, how we can balance our spiritual pursuits. If you use your wealth wisely, we can actually transform our material pursuits to be a spiritual pursuits too. If you have a goal when you earn your money, if you have a goal, a wholesome goal, I am working hard, I am doing this to benefit, of course to satisfy my basic need, to benefit my family, benefit my friends and relatives, and benefit this society and poor and helpless people, and to benefit the teachings of the Buddha, or the religious people or religious centers. Rather than having a kind of selfish, self-centered goal in our mind, I'm going to be the billionaire, I'm going to be the best businessman in the area, and I'm going to be famous. Without having such kind of self-centered goals, if we can have different goals in our mind, you can do the same business you have been doing, you can do the same job, you can have the same career, but you set your goals, different goals, more wholesome goals. And then, whatever effort you are making, you are doing for a good cause, good goal. It's more like sacrificing and benefiting so many people. So then, our spiritual pursuits are not limited. Our material pursuits are not limited to material benefits, are not limited to worldly pleasures. It has a deeper goal, higher goal. And of course then, we can actually transform other aspects of our life to be a spiritual life too. Balancing a spiritual life and material life is not about actually dividing our time. Okay, there are 5 days in the weekday I will dedicate for material pursuits, and the 2 weekends I will dedicate for spiritual pursuits. It's not like that. Or maybe in many cases, people, all on the full moon I dedicate for spiritual pursuits, all 29 days I dedicate for material pursuits. And some people even worse, they dedicate Vesak, the one day a year, for spiritual pursuits, all other days of the year for material pursuits. It is not like dividing the days or the time. It's more like incorporating spiritual pursuits to your ordinary living. So one way we can, incorporate spiritual pursuits to our way of earning money. If you remember the bee example, and if you have goals in your mind that I'm doing this not only for myself, I'm using my skills, I'm using my talents, I'm using my ability to sacrifice to benefit others. So in that way, you have a different goal and a spiritual goal. And also, there's a very interesting other way that actually we can bring spiritual aspects to our business, aspect to our career, our earning of living. And there are very important terms used by the Buddha, how we can transform these worldly pursuits to spiritual pursuits. If we can earn money with this attitude, first one is called not enslaved by the wealth. It's called agatito, not enslaved by the wealth. Means that I am earning the money, I am putting my best effort, but I am not being enslaved. I remember why I am doing this. Because most of the time we forget on the way that why I am doing this. People start to earn money, but in the middle, because they really want to help their family. I want my kids to be good kids. I want them to give them good education. I want them to be good people. And so I should earn money. And you start your business, your career, and along the way you forget your children. You don't pay attention whether they study or not. You don't have time to spend with them, and you defeat the purpose. But if you can ask that question again and again, and you'll be able to actually do it, not being enslaved by the wealth. You spend your time for that, you spend your energy for that, but you know the limits, when to stop. Not being enslaved by the wealth. In the US, many people like to have big houses. And many of our members and friends also like to have big houses. But usually they buy those houses through bank loans, mortgages. So when they buy a big house, they have a big mortgage. Every month they have to pay. So then they have to work. They have to work hard. Sometimes working in the daytime is not enough. So then they also have to work in the night. So they work day and night to pay the mortgage of the house. So they have bought a big house. Because they have to pay the mortgage to the house, they don't have enough time to stay in that house. Because they have bought the big house, and they work day and night, and they don't have time to stay in that house. They quickly come and have a short nap and eat something and go back to work. So what's the point of having a big house then? We forget to ask that question. So not being enslaved by the wealth. And the second one is called amuccito, not being intoxicated by the wealth. Because we can be intoxicated to the wealth. Maybe we can be addicted, kind of intoxicated, being blinded. Not being intoxicated by the wealth. And also, adinava dasavi, knowing the consequences of the wealth. Because if you are too attached to wealth, if you only consider wealth, and then there are consequences, particularly knowing the limitations of the wealth. Wealth can be so beneficial, so helpful, but wealth has limits. Wealth cannot bring us everything. In our relationships are more important than wealth, right? And our, the family life is more important than the wealth. So we can work hard, but we should know the limits of the wealth, how much it can give us. So if we know these things, not being enslaved by the wealth and not being intoxicated by the wealth and knowing the consequences and also particular limitations of the wealth, and then when we do our work and we are incorporating the spiritual aspects to our living, our earning. And also you are doing it to benefit many people. And if you have enough wealth, if you get to know about a person who want to have a surgery and who doesn't have enough money. You can generously donate, and you can help that person to get rid of that sickness. You can purposely work hard to do such kind of good things. And then when you go to work, and you have a different goal in your mind. And then the second worldly thing that we can transform into a spiritual practice is parenting. Many of our parents, right? So we start our family life, we raise our children, and then it can be a very worldly thing, familial thing. Of course, but if you can really think deeply about value of being a parent, whether you're a biological parent or not, becoming a parent, it's actually a psychological transformation. It's not a biological thing. Some people become parents biologically, but their mind is not transformed to become a parent. And some people may not produce children, but they can be a parent through psychological transformation. And becoming a parent is actually a very spiritual practice, if you really think deeply. Because only when we become a parent, we think about others before us. Before we become a parent, we want to put ourselves first. And we want the best thing in the world. We want the best comfortable place to sit, for example. We want the most delicious thing in the world. And so before you become a parent and you want to have the best thing for yourself. You will buy the best dress for yourself. But when you become a parent, and now the best thing is not for you. The most delicious piece of cake is not for you. You are willing to give that best thing not to your children. For the first time, we can come out of our ego when we become a parent. And we put our children first. And there's a big transformation. Although it happens casually, although it's happened only towards our children, but it is a bodhisattva. It's like becoming a bodhisattva. Because in other cases, only a bodhisattva will put all other living beings before him. And even sacrifice his liberation to help other people. And also, start a whole journey to help benefit other living beings. So when we become a parent, we are automatically become a bodhisattva, of course to a limited group of people. But that's a very important beginning. So if we can reflect and identify, this is extraordinary. Now I don't look for the best thing. I can sacrifice the best thing for the other. I don't look for comfort. I can take the burdens to give comfort to others. And so there's an important transformation happen there. And then, very importantly, raising children can give you so many opportunities to spiritually grow, because you really have to develop so much of patience when you have kids, when you have children. And then also, you also have to develop the way you express yourselves, your communication skills. You really have to practice right speech. The Noble Eightfold Path, right speech is a very important element of the whole practice, right? Do you remember Noble Eightfold Path? Right understanding, or we call right view sometimes, and right intentions, and then right speech, and right action, and right livelihood, and then right effort, and right mindfulness, and right concentration. So you really have to practice right speech when you have children, if you really want to raise them well. Because you simply cannot throw words from your mouth if you really want to raise your children well. Because they will hear the tone of the voice before the meaning of the words. And most of the time when you talk to our children, rather than communicating our message, we communicate our temper. Because tone carries the temper. And they will feel it, and they don't get the message. First they feel the tone. So as a good parent, actually, now it's time for me to practice right speech with my children. You really have to develop so much deep mindfulness. And choose the words you speak. And choose the tone that you communicate with them. And make sure that you communicate your concern towards them, not your frustration and anger. When you see your children do wrong things, when you don't listen to you, when they avoid their homework or do whatever naughty things, you get upset. Definitely you get frustrated, sometimes you get angry. Why? Because we have a great concern for them. Otherwise we don't care. We have a great concern for them. That is why we get upset when they do not do their homework. So when we talk to them, we should be skillful enough to communicate and express our concern, not the anger and frustration. Very difficult to do. Most of the time, we think that we guide them or we teach them, but actually, we are not good in communicating our concern. We only express our frustration and anger, and they don't get it. They don't get our concern. If they really get that he is concerned, he has a great concern for me, and that is why he is talking to me, and they will listen. So we have to be very skillful in that. So, the parenting, very worldly affair and very familial issue, can be transformed into a very good spiritual practice. It's actually part of practicing Noble Eightfold Path, right speech. Making sure that you talk honestly, making sure that you will not use harsh words, and making sure that you will not speak frivolously, and you don't speak casually to them, you speak with seriousness. And those are the aspects of right speech. And so then parenting can become a spiritual pursuit too. Because at the end of the day, what is left is not what we achieved through our actions, but what we have become through that interaction. Through our actions, through our interactions, we may achieve things, we may lose things. But in that interaction and responses, actions, we also transform. So what is important is not what we achieve through an interaction, through an action, but what we became through that action. So with our communication with our kids, when we make a good effort to rightly communicate with them, they will listen, they will understand, even though they don't understand, and that has transformed you spiritually. Another important thing is to truly realize that children are also sentient beings. They are also the beings who are going through the samsara. And they have come to our life in this life. They are under our custody, but they are not our property. So, your children are not your property. Children do not belong to you. Remember that. Have a great respect for them. This is a living being, a sentient being that happens to come to me in this lifetime. So I have a custody, I have a duty and obligation to do my best to help him to grow. But it's not part of you. It's not your property. And when you have that kind of great respect, and then you can treat them as respectful beings, and treat them nicely. And when you have that kind of understanding, you will not have clinging and attachment and sense of ownership, and also sense of control. The most of our problem comes with our kids when you have a sense of control and sense of ownership. They are individual living beings. And we do our best, but remember that we cannot control the result. We cannot control the outcome. We can do our best, but they also have their own karma. So we cannot control the final outcome. So do not feel responsible for final outcome. Be responsible for what you do. Actually, Buddha gave a very interesting simile to that aspect. He was talking about a farmer. When farmer is having a farm, when he has a lot of trees and plants, what he can do as a farmer is only to take care of these plants. He can water the plants, he can remove the weeds, he can put fertilizers, and that's all he can do. But he cannot demand the plants, give me fruits tomorrow, give me flowers tomorrow. You can't do that, right? Imagine that you have a nice flower pot in your house. Every day you take care of it. And next week, some of your family come to visit you. And you like this plant to be bloomed with a lot of flowers. Can you go to that plant and say that, okay, I have been taking care of you so many weeks. I put all the good fertilizers, I make sure I water you. Next week, my family is coming, give me flowers. Can you do that? No, we can't do that. That's what Buddha said, that a farmer can only put water and fertilizers, only support the conditions. It's up to the tree to decide when to give flowers and fruits. We cannot control that. The flower will bloom surely. Surely the flower will come, the fruits will come. But we cannot control that. It's a natural process. It's a natural organism. So in the same way, we can provide the best conditions for our children, and we can make sure that we provide all good conditions and good exposure, bring them to Buddhist centers, bring them to good teachers. And so you do all your part like a farmer. But what will come out of them is not under your control. You don't have to be, if they are good, you cannot take credits only for what you did, not for all the goodness that they have. If they are bad, you don't feel guilty of all the bad they have. You only can be responsible for what you can do, like a farmer. If you didn't water, of course, you are responsible for that. But if you make sure that you put enough water and enough fertilizer and took care of well, in case a tree will not give flowers, that's up to the tree, not up to you. So in that way, so then we can do our work we should treat our children as sentient beings, and I am dedicating my life for the benefit of another sentient being or few sentient beings. And this is my sacrifice. Do it like that. Not think that, these my children, they are mine. And then your sacrifice is not noble. Respect them as individual living beings and do your job as a way of, I am sacrificing my life for the benefit of 2-3 sentient beings in this world. What a good service you are doing. And have that respect. And then whatever you do in your family for your children become a part of a spiritual pursuit. You are living a bodhisattva life. You are dedicating your time, your energy, all what you earn for the benefit of few sentient beings. And if possible, you can expand that, of course, beyond your family to other living beings too. So then the treating and taking care of your children become your part of the long-term practice, like larger practice of your bodhisattvahood, that you are doing this for the benefit of other living beings. You are living your life for the benefit of other living beings while also taking care of your spiritual health too. So in that way, we can definitely balance our spiritual pursuits as well as our material pursuits. So my wish is that may you all become two-eyed people, the people with two eyes, the eye for earning enough wealth or increasing your wealth to benefit so many people in this world, and also to an eye to be able to know what is good and what is bad, what is wholesome and what is unwholesome. Usually, if you know the teachings of the Buddha, that will guide you well. So have a moral sense to your life and a spiritual knowledge. So may you all be blessed with two eyes. Thank you.